Hello, folks. Thanks for joining us here on Practical Pet Business. We know you've got a lot on your plate, and we know that some days you've also got a lot of moody customers walking through the door. Lorin, I want to ask you, how did you deal with moody customers like myself walking through your doors?
It seems like all the cranky customers come on the same day. It's funny. There's like something in the air, the water, or something, and it's like, ugh, by the end of the day, you just want to go home. Um, and you know what? Those customers, those days, they stick out more than the days where everybody comes in a great mood. Um, you know, you're as a business owner and a business that's frequented repeatedly by the same people. They start to think of you as somebody they can just vent on, that you're now you've reached a whole other level of relationship that you can vent and go on about something and go on about the the the, the driver, that flipped you off, or go on about the construction, go on about the lack of parking, um, whatever it is that they're particularly hot under the collar about. Um, it's easy to get sucked into that, right? Because you're in that, do you commiserate? Have you just heard it 300 times that day and you're just over it? Um, you kind of got to take each one of those people individually. And usually I'll try to make a joke. I'll try to test it and see if I can pull them out of it. I'll try to refocus them. Some people, they're halfway laughing about it, so you just kind of hear them out because they just want to say it. Um, it's interesting because you never know how people are going to be, and you react, and then the judgment comes down on you because you reacted. And it's perfectly okay for them to be the way they are, right? They don't think about the effect that they're having on you or your staff. They just know that if you reacted and it just didn't, that it's not appropriate to how what they thought it should be, then there's a review or there's some other thing that experience in your store gets wrapped up into what is already a negative that they're experiencing because they're prone to that right then. So you have to be super careful that you are appropriately tisk, and empathetic, and yet not feeding it and not shining it on. You can't make it nothing because they obviously think it's something, right?
Right, right. I also, it's interesting too because it can be something as simple as, oh my gosh, your parking lot is so crowded today, so awful. I can't believe this. It's taking up all the time on my weekend. It's like, okay, Captain Obvious, did you think the parking lot would be empty? It's busy during the weekdays. It's going to be busy on the weekends. You're right. You got to roll with it, and you've got to, um, you just got to kind of navigate that. I like this is something funny I know you've shared in the past with me, but just the whole, yeah, I've heard that 7 times today. When we hit 10, someone gets a prize because it's not something that you're unaware of. And I think that's the part that you and the staff are really pressured to be like, I know we've heard that from every customer today. Thanks for being so unique in this. It is also one of those that I think it is really a challenge for all business owners, all of your employees, to be able to read what's happening so quickly. And what I mean by that is when they're coming in the store, if they come in a rush, is it a rush? I know what I want and I've got to get it and get out because I got to get someplace else. Is it I just had the worst experience parking, or is it I just am having just the worst day, in which case a smile could turn that around, right?
Mhm.
And so I think that's so challenging. You all did a really good job. And I always liked that you had put a cone out for me to park. So I want to say thank you for that.
I never did that. But a lot of times it's coming up with a fix. If they're not just venting and they're just like they've had it because they can't get into your parking spot, why don't you call me? Just call me and give me your order ahead of time. We'll have it all ready for you. And then let me know you're coming down the street. We'll run it out to your car. Oh,
Right,
you guys will do that? Yes. I don't want you to have to navigate the parking lot if it's like that for you. I want you to keep coming. And I would just say it like it is. I would rather have you come and me make it easier on you than for you not to come at all,
right.
or I'd go, I know, doesn't it suck? Ah, how can I make it easier for you?
Yeah,
So you want to pull around the back? Just call me when you're in the back. I'll let you in the back, or, I can just bring it out to you. Whatever. We were always coming up with solutions because people are going to complain.
yeah,
They're going to, there's something. And sometimes they just want to complain. No, I'm fine. It's annoying. I know it really is. And you ring them up and you try to get them out of there as soon as possible because then that's going to be a stickler because it took too long. And then once you ring up and you're all done with the transaction, then if they hang around, it's just because they want to vent. No, there's no pressure on you anymore. You can just so you're like, oh, what kind of day did you have? It doesn't sound like it was very good. What's going on?
yeah,
And turn it back around on them and let them talk and let them feel better. If people can leave your store feeling just a turn in the right direction a little better, and that you haven't done anything to just add to it, your staff or anything like that, and you come up with a fix, you come up with suggestions, you've, made them laugh, you've taken some stress off, then you have done the perfect job.
yeah. Well, and I think I like that you talked about just handling the situation, having compassion, but having, hey, this is your place of business as well. Um, yeah, I would literally had this happen not too long ago where I was at a store and the person was all upset because I was in here 2 weeks ago and I bought this and it wasn't this expensive. And it's like, oh, that was 2 weeks ago. Number one, the world is changing rapidly. There are a lot of things that can change in those 2 weeks. But this person was just adamant and adamant and adamant. And then they finally was like, I know it's at least 50 cents cheaper. And I was like, oh my God,
Oh my gosh.
I had to listen to you get all upset, create commotion in the store where I'm like, do I even want to be in here over that small amount? And to your point, it's just like sometimes people just, and I couldn't tell if they wanted to make a political statement, a financial statement, or just a statement to be recognized where everybody be like, wow, really sorry you're having to deal with that. Whatever it was, it worked because we all stopped when the volume reached that. That is, unfortunately unavoidable. And I think it's also more common these days where people think they have a right to be heard. I'm paying for, you to not just deliver this product or service, but now you're my therapist. Now you're my venting machine. Now you're all of these other things. It's a weird time. So, I mean, I have compassion for the folks. But I actually, and folks, please do this when I go, it doesn't matter, it's a grocery store, wherever, and someone is checking me out at the end, they'll say thanks for, and I always say thank you for being here. And the amount of times people go, "You're the first person to thank me today." That's awesome. I just turn their day around just by acknowledging you don't have to be here, but you're here and you just helped me. Thank you. We would do that in so many other
Mhm.
instances of life. Someone held the gate for me at, this place or opened it. Thank you. So just that common courtesy. And to your point, you can turn somebody's day around very quickly with just a couple of pleasant words, a couple of smiles. I have seen someone say, "Oh my gosh, you know what? You need," and they'll show a video, some funny video of, some cute pet dog, etc. And this person who was clearly having an awful day is just like, oh my God, that's so cute. Let me show you my favorite one. I saw it the other, and boom, and that's maybe that other easy pivot for everybody. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I can tell you're having a tough day. Do you have a picture of your dog, cat, bird, whatever it is? Because that will stop people dead in their tracks. Whenever I know someone's having a bad day and I'm in their conversation, but oh my gosh, I haven't seen a picture of Fluffy in forever. Do you have an updated one? How's she doing? Ah, you're not gonna believe it. Look at this cute one. And it just like you want to talk about a 90-degree turn. So keep
Well, and
that
it
in the
keeps
back.
you from being dragged into the negativity, right?
Yeah,
Because after
yeah,
you've heard 15 times in a day about your parking lot,
yeah,
you're like, ah, I don't
yeah,
want to hear about my freaking parking lot from another person. That's an easy suck. You get
yeah,
sucked into that. So instead, by you flipping it around and trying to make their day better, it keeps you from being sucked into it as well.
yeah,
And it's just so easy. I don't know what it is about the negative being so easy to slide into and the positive being so much harder work. But it really changes everything. And again, to your point earlier, read the room. There are people that if they're in a bad mood and they don't want to converse, and you can just tell it's pouring off of them, that they're hot under the collar. The fastest you can get them out of there with the least amount of conversation, the better.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. Every interaction does not need to be elongated.
Mm-mm.
Feel free to just do what needs to be done and then let them get on their way, let you get back to your business,
But
shake
be
it off,
pleasant.
move forward. Yeah, because and that's the impact too. And as a business owner, I'll just share with all of you, you really can build loyalty within your own staff, not by stepping in and squashing it and all the rest. When warranted, certainly do that. But you can tell sometimes your staff has a rocky interaction for whatever reason. Really important moment there to go up and say, hey, I gotcha. There, yeah, how are you doing? You know, I know that one didn't go the way that maybe we thought walking in the door, but how is it? And I've done that many times as a manager of people where I have, seen, boy, I know that was not the interaction we were all hoping for. And I think the natural pivot is the customer's always right. You and I have talked about that. That is not the case, but you got to go the extra step as well, especially as a business owner, and check in on your staff. How are you doing? That was a little bit of a rocky one. Is there something you need 5 minutes, 10 minutes to go? Collect yourself so that we can be on a positive bend the rest of the day. Perfect. You know, that's that extra. Because remember we have external customers, those folks coming in, and then we've got our internal customers, the folks we work with, and keeping them up does require an effort and a vigilance on your part. And if you're the business owner, you really want to prioritize that because good quality people are harder to find than ever these days. And
Yeah.
I hear that so often. And I think a big part of that is because the interactions have kind of been elevated to it used to be, this is going to be just, a great, pleasant day, to now it's like, oh, I hope we don't get any, moody people, running through the door because that can really, torpedo a day. Well, that's something you got to be on the lookout for. And, you've also, I'll share this too. I had this conversation, which kind of revolves around this, but um, one of the business I thought had a really good approach to when they have a difficult customer or someone that the staff is really not comfortable with, they've got a code that they'll share with either the manager or the owner if they're there. And that manager or owner will step in to handle that transaction. And it's really made a difference for them internally with their staff. And the folks really feel supported. So, keep that in your back pocket and use that, when you need to, because that's funny. I mean, the big stores have done that for so long. You hear,
Mhm.
we have, code, blah, 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 And those are signals. So take that down to your business and implement that so everybody knows, hey, how do we de-escalate this? How do we make this the best possible environment we can, knowing that we cannot control everything that's going to happen throughout the day? So I like that. Yeah, I thought you always did a really good job and a really good handle of that. And you always, it's really interesting too, because you had created that environment as well within your store. There were cute things that just automatically raise the like smile level, if you will. Whether it was the pictures on the wall, whether it was the, cute clothes, the this, the that. It was not an environment that you walked into and did not feel, some warmth. And I think that's another thing too, as folks are looking at what can I do? What can I have going? Um, there are sometimes just those triggers, those sensory triggers that are going on that can also really de-escalate someone who's having a rough day or coming in moody, coming in hot. I got no tolerance. I need this done right now. And they walk into a different environment. And it's like, whew, I actually feel better in here. And that shouldn't that be how it is in the pet world?
Yes.
So,
Well, it doesn't hurt to have had a dog behind the counter either,
yeah,
because people would come in just to see her, and she could turn anybody around on a bad day.
yeah.
So, that's
Uh,
always something good to have, if you've got the right temperament dog.
love that. What are you all doing in these situations? Please share that with Lauren and I. Send us your emails to practicalpetchat@gmail.com. Leave a comment on any of the social media channels or wherever you're listening and or watching this. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy weeks. Share us with a fellow pet business owner this week. We would appreciate that. Thank you as always for joining us here on Practical Pet Business.
Thanks, guys.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for your pets. Always seek the advice of a qualified veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding your pet's health or medical condition. Never disregard professional veterinary advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The hosts and the guests of this podcast are not liable for any actions taken based on the information shared during these episodes. Any reliance on the information provided is solely at your own risk. Copyright 2025 Practical Pet Chat, all rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or reproduction of any content from this podcast, including but not limited to audio, scripts, and show notes, is prohibited without prior written consent. The opinions and views expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Practical Pet Chat.